What's the most absurd statement you've heard someone make with complete sincerity? A local politician being a lovely guy. He's a dick. He's been in trouble for taking up skirt pics, as numerous fines for being dishonest on Facebook during his campaigns, and ended up in court for lying during his campaign. And he was told to step down by his own party and not run. And he insulted me when I proved him wrong about something. He's a dick. To me, is at one of my first jobs as a graphic designer. A client called me into his office and pulled up a photo he took. He then asked me if I could turn it around. No, not rotate it, but turn the viewpoint around. He wanted to see what was behind the camera and he originally took the photo. God, I have so many stories from that job. The military has coordinated with aliens for decades. We can time travel. The crucifixion of Christ was recorded on VHS. Each president is cloned. And the Jimmy Carter clone was the worst. This was from a guy who my friend and I had a conversation with about UFOs back in the mid-90s. When we left, we couldn't stop laughing. I was on a road trip with my ex. I was doing the lion's share of the driving. It was very cold out. I stopped for gas and asked her to wash the windows while I went in for refreshments. She saw the thin layer of ice on top of the washer fluid and declared that she couldn't clean the windows because it'll scratch the glass. Amber Heard is a monster. Johnny Depp is the real victim. I still can't believe people this stupid are out there in the wild. They're like Trump supporters, just completely blind to their rapist hero and spewing lies and bullshit because to realize the truth about their messiah will break their fragile, idiotic minds. A friend of mine made an offhand comment about Darwin being wrong, and when I asked what he meant, he told me that evolution is clearly wrong and the Earth is no more than 6,000 years old. He had so much certainty about it. I told him, oh, well, I'll look into it. And I haven't really talked much with him since. Oh God, I can't believe I'm typing this, but a work colleague went on a religious rant and stated, why can't everyone just agree? There's only one God, so why is there so many different religions? Think a lot of people would disagree with that. I'm ashamed for her ignorance. The government will fix everything. You'll see. No. They've made a real mess of things. The group that thought jetliners flying into buildings was diplomacy is now back in charge of Afghanistan, raping women and children again and largely being a stain on humanity. Languages with the Roman alphabet are all dialects of each other. I then brought up Vietnamese. While admittedly a poor argument, if you knew enough about languages to see why it's a poor argument, you wouldn't be making the original argument in the first place. Told someone my mother had recently died from cancer that was diagnosed a decade ago. Their immediate response was no. No. You know that was the COVID vaccine, yes. Someone time traveled to shoot up my mum because cancer is so user-friendly. All animals were once vegetarian and lived in peaceful harmony before mankind turned up, bringing sin and bad vibes and such like. It must have been lovely in those days, when a spider would build a web and wait for a potato to fly into it. We were in an epidemiology class discussing the probability of someone having a certain disease condition. One of my classmates said, at any time, the chance of a woman being pregnant is 50, because she either is or isn't pregnant. A guy sincerely telling me that it's not BS, and the earth is donut-shaped. I replied with the meme of Bender saying, oh wait, you're serious. Let me laugh even harder. He blocked me and the mutual friend whose post I was on. Encountered a strange man at my first job and told him I was a lesbian after he asked if I had a boyfriend. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, you know, you should really stop liking girls. It's a turn off for most guys. Growing up, I had a friend who was a chronic liar. He said that humans take weeks to adapt to new climates and that, say if you somehow went from Nevada to Alaska in 12 hours or less, you would die from shock. Airplanes, bro. I was having an argument with my old boss about doing something he had agreed to do. I don't have to do what I say. He backpedaled on that one pretty quick, but I think even he was surprised that came out of his mouth. A girl in 8th grade said, "I'm so glad I was born into a family with the right religion. The absurdity of that changed my life." Same year a guy said, "Wouldn't it be great if life was in 3D? Still makes me smile." My engineering manager used to tell me how plastics just disappeared over time, all in the ocean. He had no concern at all as to where it may have gone. Taught environmental concerns over plastic was a non-issue. We're not supposed to work, they should just stay at home with their husbands. Or if they don't have a husband, stay at home and look after their parents, forever said my late mum on more than one occasion. Cot told as a kid from my mum that women would die if their uterus was removed. Like it was as important as a heart or pair of lungs. Was also told that girls have to have kids when they grow up. There is only 2 languages, English and Chinese. Heard this at a party recently. F20 she started debating about it, and her BF sat there shocked and embarrassed. This lady has 2 kids. I had a dude at work try convince me he has millions in the bank that most millionaires don't have an active income, confirming for me the first sentence was as dumb as it felt. It's okay that my son has sugar before bed. A parent told me this after the doctor confirmed their kid's teeth was littered with cavities. He was 10 and needed so many fillings. I think all people around the world, no matter where they're from or how they're raised, secretly know that Christianity is the real true religion. College roommate. From my delusional sister, if you're not having sex with your partner, they have the right to cheat on you. Unsurprisingly, she has not been successful in relationships. We shouldn't switch over to solar power because it doesn't work at night, or wind power doesn't work when the wind isn't blowing. Nobel Prize material right there. Insects aren't animals, son, my dad. And of course we can't forget peacocks are birds. My really stupid friend who somehow has all A's in their classes. I've heard a couple of our absurd statements and I have accepted that I don't recognize sincerity well. I get increasingly better, but it's against my will. A former co-worker was complaining her boss had literally chewed her ass in front of other people in the company. I chose not to say anything. The reason the US is in a depression is because of all the Hubble telescopes. They then asked how to make ice. We were about 16 at the time. Dust doesn't reflect light, it does, so that means the moon creates its own light because it can't reflect the sun's off of its surface. Had BF's dad tell me I had a fever not to eat ice cream BC it would get too hot and curdle in my stomach. He was dead serious. My sister once overheard a high school freshman ask if India was in Tokyo. No, not if Tokyo was in India, if India was in Tokyo. Reparations paid to black people by a first-generation American who never owned slaves, and is in fact the child of foreign peasants. Not a statement. But someone in my history class asked the teacher if slaves got paid. We were all like 13 at the time. The question on a subreddit asking if Americans were justified in dropping the atom bomb in Japan to end WW2. A girl in my class thought that the Arctic and Antarctic was the East and West Pole, and that they were deserts. Donald Trump is indeed a righteous Christian. He said he believes, so he is saved. It says so in John 3:16. Someone told me they were at a concert and could see in the eyes of the bouncer, and it was a real lizard. The Civil War didn't matter cause technology would have replaced black people anyway. And he was black. My mother told me, if you dress like a lesbian, you'll never get a boyfriend. That's kind of the point. They keep one-upping themselves just about every evening now on the free news channels mainstream. My dad thought criminals wanted to get caught because they knew what they were doing was wrong. I mean, there was a Tucker Carlson Joe Rogan podcast yesterday, so just pick a random time interval. Told my uncle about perhaps abortion in case of rape. He said, now how often does that happen? This one seems to stick in my mind. Trump is the chosen one and is Jesus in disguise. I don't believe in atoms. Close second. Daniel Pearl was actually Muslim and a jihadist. Chickens are injected with steroids. This is a very commonly spread misinformation in India. Was talking with one of my friend's cousins and one said, isn't South America in Europe? School debt is good debt. That's why it doesn't go away if you declare bankruptcy. I worked with a guy that straight-faced told me he could fly a Learjet backwards. Some once told me, I know how the world works, I've been all over Saskatchewan. The thank you from my customer is my reward, so remuneration doesn't matter. Clock out but keep working. What the fuck, guy? You're not even a supervisor. You're wrong. Humans and dinosaurs had epic battles to conquer fertile lands. That eating a Snickers bar is healthier than an apple. It's called a V6 engine because it has 6 valves.